your challenge in this time left in Ag Cafe 3 is to narrow and come up with, and you have some white stickies. And so the question is, what are the most important initiatives and ideas that will help us collectively reach our goals? And we want you to give 3. Have a conversation at your table to come up with your top 3 initiatives that you think that we should start on now, right now. Not that the other ones aren't important, but the first ones to start with. They're probably going to come off of these walls here so far, and if they don't, that's fine. Advocate for something that you thought about at lunch that hadn't popped up. And you want to narrow down to 3 with your group at your table. And so you have 3 white sheets of paper, and then you'll have 3 more white sheets that would be whatever that initiative is or big idea. What are the first 2 things you think you ought to do to get started on it? So Phyllis asked, is all this going to be written up? So bless Franny. Franny, where are you? Somewhere. Oh, there you are. Franny spent the last hour and a half before capturing all of that, all of this, all of that. So we have all that stuff. She'll capture all of this, and it'll all come out in a beautifully bound proceedings that Dave will do. Before Christmas. No, just kidding. Yeah, so yeah. Yeah, which Christmas? So everybody clear on what the task is? Narrow to 3, and then what would be the first 2 steps for each of those 3?
We came up with 3. The first was to streamline and facilitate the county ag permits. We saw that come up, not just myself, but in a number of other discussions. And the 2 actions that we would propose to help support that would be, one, that the Board of Supervisors make an effort to make sure that the staff is more clear on the direction that the Board of Supervisors is giving them. I think they have directed them very clearly. I just don't think the staff has necessarily got it or behaving that way. So I think that there needs to be more of an effort to ensure that they are. And number 2 is to hire somebody like Lisa Bush that doesn't go to Italy every couple of months and is actually here full-time to help get through the permitting process. Hopefully somebody in CEA, that's part of it, that's there, and when an ag producer comes in and says, I want to do this, they go talk to him. Number 2 was this is 2. Okay, to connect local producers to consumers and help create awareness. And the way to do that is, 1, explore a grown and Marin type labeling through perhaps using the UCC, the Grown and Marin website, which already exists and I think is underutilized. And then we really thought we should just annex Sonoma. And then the third issue was we really wanted to see if we could build a connection and consensus between agriculture and environment and the environmentalists. And the way to do that, we thought, would be to have community meetings to bring them together, and more on-farm tours, internet and education and stuff.
We wanted to see about creating a regional infrastructure that would include both Sonoma and Marin to support local production from the producer to the processor to the local consumer. And the steps that we saw to do that would be to expedite and streamline permits, that's not a new one, and also to create more of a kitchen table approach to regulatory work and addressing regulatory issues so we don't kill the messenger. Second one was the inheritance tax issue, is to solve the death tax crisis in the ag community, and the steps that they came up with was to get political support to drive this from the Senator Feinstein to the Board of Supervisors. And it's critical that this must get support. And then the second part would be to create an ag exemption if the ranch stays in agriculture. And the last one was to control invasive species in Marin County, both in organic and conventional ranches, And the steps to do this would be to help support, give money to the weed area management group to come up with solutions and to create a top 10 eradication protocol for invasive species.
In our group, we wanted to focus on the permitting process, and we decided it would be great to form a government relations team to lobby and educate regarding the dysfunctional rules. And one of the first things to do would be to map the regulatory process so people understood it, and then to pick the common threads and pick ones that affect the greatest numbers of farmers and to work on those. We also looked at value-added products in terms of processing, to share common resources in terms of processing, distribution, and storage. And our steps there were to look at the economics, to assess the feasibility of the project, and then to get funding for that. We looked at branding for Grown in Marin, and education, and we decided some of the steps towards that would be to develop a marketing campaign as far as educating people to buy local, and especially getting the restaurants to buy local. And then our last one was regarding education, to have a countywide work experience for college interns on agricultural ventures. And the way to do this would be to get the funding, which seems relatively feasible, to launch the pilot, and then also to expand that to Santa Rosa Junior College.
Two things that came up in the permit department we looked at as action items. One, to identify, bring in David Letterman and identify a top 10 biggest hurdles, so then you actually have tangible results over what you've overcome. And work on developing, especially as things go forward, better working relationships with the Planning Commission, so there's some understanding. The Ag Environmental Partnerships, the concept of MALT 2, continue building on the interest that we've seen appear at the Dance Palace, and try and work on another gathering events and see what it takes to get us over the hill. And then the one that we have that is new is working on keeping ag in the park. Engaging, the two steps there would be engaging in the general plan update, and then also working towards what we're defining as operational security for people operating in the park with viable leases, diversification, aquaculture, and the like. And I think the biggest thing we noticed is that there would be great benefits to cloning if we could clone Phyllis Faber, if we could clone other agriculturalists, so there are more of us that are in the minority that can get over the hill and do more. That would have great benefits as well.
We recommend increasing the accessibility and security of financial resources for ag and aquaculture and ranches. The first step would be to work with financial institutions to create secure money for ranches and farms. The second step would be to actually have good estate planning support. And we have a third step, and that would be to identify who would help push these initiatives forward and really support it. Second recommendation was to maintain and improve land use policies and regulations that are favorable to ag production. The first step would be to review and revise the county general plan and all regulations in conjunction with all the relevant organizations so that they would be supportive to ag and aquaculture. The second step would be to put implementation funding and staff into place. Our third recommendation was for education and communications. Education and communications between consumers, producers, policymakers, that there be facilitation of communication between all these different stakeholders. The first step would be to actually do this in unison with some of the distribution and marketing initiatives that would already be happening, and to have an ag internship program for the county put into place.
What we need is a little seed money from somewhere to do just what it means to be a Sonoma Marin agricultural producer to the consumers, so that they have so we tailor this to what actually will drive sales of our products. And so thought maybe that, there's a couple dollars somewhere in some tourism board or something that we can get. The other thing we talked about is developing some kind of ag advisory committee to the Board of Supervisors that just reports to the Board of Supervisors. And so if staff or laws change or whatever happens, or proposals from the myriad of other groups that the poor board has to deal with, that they get run by the board by this advisory committee, only the ag-related stuff, obviously, so that at least there could be some vetting on it and some reaction before people go down this path too far, before they realize the implications for ag, if ag's truly as important as it seems. And then the last one, and we have I love the whistle because it's perfect for this subject, just to find out what's holding up the railroad. Because for the people that are in animal agriculture that use any kind of cereal grains that come from out of the area, it could mean upwards of $10 a ton. It's a huge amount of income and savings for all the people that use it. And basically, if we just need some high up supervisory investigation of why this thing isn't moving on, because according to the Railroad Authority, they're ready. And now it's just political red tape that's stopping us, not actually deals.
We came up with working on permitting and regulations. One of the first steps would be to educate regulators and have the regulators talk from Sonoma and Marin County so that everything's kind of similar and matches up. More advocacy, kind of a streamline permitting or provide more information on permitting, having something detailed to tell you what you need when you need it. Building new infrastructure for processing was our second one. We want to create possibilities for education and testing, and we need to identify a site on the 101 corridor. We didn't care if it was in Sonoma or Marin, but number 3, financing new people and existing facilities. County Ag Bank with low interest long-term loans, and we need to assess our fees and taxes.
Under the general priority of getting public lands at all levels, federal, state, and county, to actively support and facilitate ag activities, we have streamlining permitting. And also underneath that, doing some work together to resolve the labor issues. Then under a priority of the shared processing facilities, we have both assessing the option of the slaughterhouse as well as the value-added processing facility that potentially could tie into some other developments that might be happening, such as the pavilion for the farmers market. And then under a priority of promoting education generally on ag issues, a support for school-age youth education and teacher education starting very young. And then also this idea of a ag leadership institute. So we're educating the leaders, regulators, different people on ag issues.